Subalpine fir. I'm really excited about this tree. It's a raft. Well, I'm hoping to be a raft because you can see this is all just connected here. And it's been in here 2 years. It's growing okay. It's not like super vigorous, and partly because I think it's just in this box. It's pretty small. It's its original dirt, so it needs a transplant. That's where I'm at with it. You know, it's really got this nice flow off to the left. Most of my plants I like to do to the right, just like a natural tendency. So it's strange to have one going off to the left, but this is good, right? This is get variation in my trees and designs and everything, because everything starts to look, you know, how I design it. And you know, sort of uniform in that way. And if I look at the other side of this tree, it's you know, it does slant this way, which I like, but you have this small forefronting trunk coming out, which is kind of nice because it just gives it this neat depth, but it makes this look huge, and there's this big gnarly section here. So you know, I just don't find it as interesting. This line crosses a lot more off that main one. Plus you have, over on this side, you have this feature, which is just this split so long ago, comes down. I did wonder if that was dead, but then it's all connected to this. So this is all part of it, new bud there, and it hides some of this thickness there. Because you see this sort of splitting off, and you know, it's kind of strange, right? But yeah, so I'm going to transplant it into, let me grab it. I'm gonna transplant into this. You see it's got a nice, layered it back, so multiple steps up to break up the thickness of it. So I don't have that thick thing, and then this is actually bowed out. So it creates this nice feel and gives me that little bit more depth. So I'm gonna try to get into there. It is a bit maybe wide for the tree that I have, but it's really the only container that will fit. The other ones I have are just too shallow. One I have is just way too thick too, so. And then I'll trim it up just a little bit. I'm not sure entirely. I don't want to knock the wild out of it. I have to be careful to knock the wild out of it. I can't trim a lot because I'm transplanting, but you know, get rid of some of these little deads in here and clean it up just a bit. And see if I can get some of those lines. So it came out, I actually deconstructed the box off of it instead of trying to pull it out, because I want to be careful with all the bark and everything up above. And you know, these white roots are the grasses and stuff, but you can see a lot of these darker roots in here, and they're just all sort of at the tips. And you know, it does look like there's some decent soil in there from before. So yeah, I'm just gonna chopstick it down and get it thinner, you know, bring the roots out and see what I have to work with. Okay, my first raft. Overall, super happy. Like, it's just, the tree is so beautiful. It's got so many natural characteristics. I gave it a little trim in there, but I just wanted to kind of clean up some lines, let the light get into the interior. Took off some branches that were like coming right from this far side. Squeezed a couple branches together with the guy wire together, which is these two. That one was just kind of going down straight up, and then, but you know, this needs to bend down. I need to make another distinct line with this back tree here, and move them all in this direction. I just can't wire it or do anything much right now after I just repotted it. So yeah, and I didn't want to knock the wild out of it. Now, some of the things I had was this, you know, I didn't want this parallel, like straight with the pot, so I kind of tilted it back, and then I was looking at, like, you know, it just seemed horizontal as well. So not just this way, but also you know, angled, and so I wanted to angle it just a bit, so I angled it back a bit and then shot it up a bit. And so, you know, I don't know if that kind of, you know, takes away from the sort of raft style, makes it look like a branch, you know, versus multiple. I'm not sure. I mean, this is obviously the dominant tree, and there's two other ones, but with that root sort of extending out, maybe it needs to be flatter. and also if I made it flatter, what happens is this one was tilted even, you know, it angled even more, to create more of a windswept. So I sort of came to that compromise. And I do feel like I have that tree there, and I like having, you know, using this front branch as some depth, but I really want to be able to see that back if I can get some of this growth to grow. And this branch, of course, is the one that I've pulled up, but it needs to be actually wired and moved, because that's just a straight line. Maybe even with those ones growing, it gets cut back. But again, I need to not knock the wild out of this one. But yeah, pot turned out really well. Like it fit in there nice. I did have to like squish it into the one side, so there's a lot of extra soil here. The soil line was kind of there, and so this is gonna dry out a lot faster. And the roots were already super ramified. Like it's just that old tree, the tree itself is ramified, like the branch, there's tons of branching for the size of it. And so the roots were also doing the same thing. So barely any big roots in there. Didn't trim hardly any, just sort of cut around them and tried to leave some sections untouched. And you know, if I was really getting excited and trimmed a bunch, not only is that going to harm the tree a bunch, but it's also just going to send all the vigor to the few branches that are there, and they'll just shoot out with tons of strength, right? So you know, you want it distributed. So initial working, it is going to freeze tonight, so I'm going to bring it inside into the boot room, and then we're looking pretty good for freezing, so it should be able to stay outside.